The king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time.
Remember, 47 minutes is not a reconciliation. It's not a get-together, we're so thrilled to see you.
Meghan Markle felt humiliated on Prince Harry's most recent UK trip, and that the trip turned into a nightmare.
King Charles has officially met Meghan, Harry, Archie and Lily at Highgrove House, his Gloucestershire country residence.
She actually sort of fueled his grievances. What happened until he met Meghan, he was quite happy.
King Charles still can be manipulated by Harry, and certainly the promise of spending time with his
Tom Bauer
grandchildren.
says he has uncovered what really happened during Meghan Markle's controversial 47-minute visit to Highgrove. And according to his account, it explains why the meeting ended so differently from what many expected. What was supposed to be a chance to rebuild family ties quickly became a tightly controlled encounter that raised even more questions than it answered.
Prince Harry, Meghan and Markle and the two children to see their grandfather. We're not quite sure how long it lasted. Some people are saying an hour, some are saying more. The fallout from it has been we're all sitting waiting for it to be leaked. Nothing so far. Apparently William was appalled. The following day, Harry looked like the cat that got the cream, because you and I both know that the Sussex brand's dead now, isn't it, anywhere in the world, unless they can actually prove to have some link still with the very family they spend their entire life
Even more
slagging
surprising,
off.
Bauer is now issuing a serious warning to King Charles about what this moment could mean going forward. And by the end of this video, you'll see why he believes those 47 minutes may have changed everything.
Of course, it's been hugely damaging, and the popularity of the royal family has fallen because of Meghan and Harry's antics. So I think the king right now, his best bet would be to distance himself completely, make it clear to Harry that the Sussexes are not welcome at all in Britain for a very, very long time. And Harry just will have to reflect how he's going to reorganise the next few tens of years
Tom
of his
Bauer
life.
is more than a royal biographer. Over the years, he has become one of the most closely watched commentators on Prince Harry, Meghan Markle, and their relationship with the royal family. His investigations and opinions often spark debate because they focus on the decisions, tensions, and public controversies surrounding the couple.
I mean, I don't think she'd be the block on reconciliation. She would say to Charles, it's not going to work out well, Charles. Do what you want. But in my view, give it a pass.
Well, who's the block? William?
I think William's the block. And also the fact that Charles standing with Harry, he knows it
And
can
this
only end
time,
badly.
his latest claims about that 47-minute Highgrove meeting are raising some serious questions. According to Bauer, Harry and Meghan came to the United Kingdom with one major purpose, which was to reverse the effects of Megxit and rebuild their connection with the royal family.
But I do think that when you're mocked so publicly as they've been, their value begins to nosedive pretty quickly. And I don't think they're finding any more sources of income. And with the stream of money they're spending on security, on mortgages, on just plain living, I think they can see the end of the road within 5 years at best. And they've got a real financial
After stepping
problem
away
now.
from royal duties, Harry and Meghan's circumstances were widely reported to have changed. Their commercial projects faced growing scrutiny. Meghan's lifestyle brand encountered challenges, and some of Harry's charitable efforts also came under increased pressure.
Well, the point is that Meghan knows what she'd like to do, but can't deliver. I mean, she cannot be a Martha Stewart. She can't be a Gwyneth Paltrow. She can't recruit people who do it. I mean, the great problem in this whole merchandising and branding is that she has neither the money, the talent, the inspiration, the people to put it together for her. Then she sort of come up with a ridiculous story that Netflix were going to produce it for her and sell it, which Netflix quickly
According to Tom
denied.
Bauer's view, those setbacks made it far more important for the couple to rebuild their public image. He argues that reconnecting with the royal family offered the strongest path to restoring the relevance, credibility, and attention they once enjoyed.
Meghan and Harry's crisis, completely of their own making, is they have no major projects, no major money earners. And so they're more desperate than ever. And I think that they don't know what to do other than to try and come back to Britain and rebuild themselves as some sort of members
They
of the
still
royal
needed
family.
a credible reason to reconnect with the royal family. And according to Tom Bower's view, the Invictus Games provided that opportunity. As the founder of the event, Prince Harry already had a well-established reason to be in the UK, making the visit appear connected to his long-standing commitment to Invictus rather than a direct attempt to re-enter royal life.
Oh, I think he desperately does want to come back. I think that's what the whole Invictus Games in Birmingham was all about and is all about. But I think now he's got a huge problem that they're increasingly unpopular. The king can't face him in the way he wants
In Bower's
in public.
view, that made the timing especially significant. And what happened next is where the story takes an unexpected turn.
I think that's what the Invictus Games, which is this very splendid competition for wounded servicemen, is going to start in Birmingham next year, but there's a rehearsal later in the summer. And Harry is determined to come, and if he could, he'd bring Meghan and somehow work his way back in so that they have status. My feeling is that the king might be slightly
King Charles,
sympathetic.
still acting as both monarch and father, reportedly agreed to meet with Harry during his visit. Reports also said Harry was offered accommodation at Buckingham Palace. However, according to those same reports, he did not accept the offer right away. By the time he later decided to do so, the arrangements had reportedly changed, and the offer was no longer available.
The royals offered Harry and his family use of Buckingham Palace for the duration of their stay. It's self-evidently one of the most secure buildings in the United Kingdom, after all. But apparently the palace is not fit for the spare to the throne. Harry didn't respond to the offer. Instead, he leaked a self-funded report about the colossal terror threat he faces to ITV News and told the rest of his family to stay away. That terror threat apparently only applied to London, and it was clear that if they were in Birmingham, for example, which is 2 hours drive away,
that
it
unexpected
apply.
twist added even more attention to the visit and raised fresh questions about how carefully every part of the meeting had been managed.
Prince Harry, the invitation for Prince Harry to stay at Buckingham Palace has been withdrawn. He's coming to Britain today.
After much speculation, a Duke of Sussex spokesperson confirmed the offer, as Andrew says, has been withdrawn
Prince Harry,
at the last.
The invitation for Prince Harry to stay at Buckingham Palace has been withdrawn. He's coming to Britain today. After much speculation, a Duke of Sussex spokesperson confirmed the offer has, Andre says, been withdrawn at the last.
He wants it, though, because he wants to make it in a royal tour.
Of course.
Yes.
He wants to monetize his presence here.
Of course.
And the palace quite rightly said, on the day of the Daily Mail judgment, when you're going to be called unreliable, you're not going to then walk back into Buckingham Palace and besmirch the royal family.
As the situation
more.
unfolded, Tom Bower argues that King Charles began to see a larger pattern. In Bower's view, this wasn't simply about a father meeting his son. He believes the king recognized what he sees as an effort by Harry and Meghan to rebuild their connection with the royal family after stepping away from royal duties.
And all that was all fueled from Montecito. Well, that has all now gone sour. That's all now gone really bad for the Sussexes. So they have
What was the objective in them doing that?
Well, to get to resurrection, be the royal family, somehow find a way in which they could monetize themselves through being accepted again in Britain. But of course, they're not apologizing. They have no contrition for the terrible things they've done over the last 5 years. So I never understood exactly how they thought it would play out.
According to Bower, restoring that link could also restore the credibility, status, and public value associated with being closely tied to the monarchy. That's why he ends with a clear warning to the king and why many people are now paying close attention to his advice and...
Well, they do have access, they do have flats, apartments in St. James's Palace, which I think should be taken away from them. I mean, initially, my feeling was that the sins of the parents should be visited on their children, but I've changed my opinion on that now, because I hadn't realized at the time how they really had exploited their titles for financial benefit. I knew they were lazy and they'd had 10, 15 holidays a year.
Harry may have underestimated just how closely the situation was being watched. After all, his father is not only his father, he is also the king. According to Tom Bower's view, Charles was fully aware that many of Harry and Meghan's post-royal ventures had faced increasing challenges. Several of their Hollywood projects had come under pressure. Meghan's lifestyle brand was dealing with setbacks, and some of Harry's charitable relationships had become more complicated.
When Chandauka denounces Harry as a racist and a bully, and that was, obviously for Harry, absolute disaster. He left the charity soon after, and the charity still survives, but obviously his reputation.
In Bauer's opinion, those developments gave the king important context for understanding why this renewed effort to reconnect was happening now.
Friday, it transpired that 20 cars went into the Gloucester home of the King and Queen, Highgrove House, for some function to do with some organisation. And hidden within those 20 cars was, indeed, Harry, Meghan, Prince Archie. Is he Prince Archie? I have no idea. Archie and Lilibet reunited.
By the
with
time
their
these
grandfather
concerns
for the
emerged,
first time in
the meeting
4
at
years.
Highgrove had already been arranged. According to Tom Bauer, canceling it at the last minute could have created even more public speculation and unwanted headlines. So instead of calling it off, he believes King Charles chose a different approach. The meeting would still go ahead, but on carefully controlled terms with clear boundaries in place. And as Bauer tells it, those conditions would shape everything that happened over the next 47 minutes.
So I think gradually the king has become much, more respected than he might have been. Mm-hmm. And he is, in fact, highly respected now, as is the queen. And they had to fight hard to get to that. So I think the sympathy at the moment is all in their favour. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to let all their hard work. And you've got to remember, and they're not going to cause an argument with William and Kate, mm-hmm. who have absolutely no intention of in any way allowing the rehabilitation of the Sussexes here. So I think it's the royal family versus the Sussexes. And today, the royal
According
family
to Tom
won.
Bauer, King Charles had no intention of handling this meeting the way he had in the past. If there had once been a more open approach, Bauer believes that had now changed. This time, every detail was carefully controlled. The meeting was kept private, tightly managed, and notably brief. In Bauer's view, those weren't random decisions. They were deliberate boundaries designed to ensure that nothing about the visit could be misunderstood or taken beyond what the king intended.
Of course, they went on this trip to the UK. There was a bit of will they, won't they? Harry goes by himself, and then suddenly Meghan Markle with the kids in they trot as well. But there have been some reports that the family reunion that they had with the King and the Queen may have not gone as planned for Meghan. There are some suggestions that it probably wasn't warm and fuzzy. I can't imagine why.
According to Tom Bauer, Meghan may have expected a much warmer reception after being away from the United Kingdom for several years. But in his view, that isn't what happened. Instead of a heartfelt family reunion, the meeting reportedly felt formal, restrained, and emotionally distant. Rather than signaling a fresh start, Bauer argues it reflected just how much the relationship had changed and how carefully every.
You say she'd have been chuffed to bits. Do you think it would have been awkward for her with Charles and Camilla?
I think the whole thing might have been a bit awkward.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they would have briefed them and said, right, no pictures, no reporting to the press. There would have been definite confirmation of ground rules. Because what we don't want, the royal family don't want, is that a couple of weeks down the line we have a bare-all interview from Harry saying, what went on at the meeting, whether it was good, bad or indifferent. So that, I think, has to be the most important outcome of this. No leaking, no telling of what went on at the meeting. If it does, then that will further erode trust between other members
According
of the
to
royal
Tom
family.
Bauer, the meeting sent a clear signal. In his view, even if Harry and Meghan wanted to rebuild their relationship with the royal family, there was no automatic path back into life as working royals. He argues that the monarchy was drawing firm boundaries and making it clear that any future relationship would be on very different terms.
Their problem is that they've got no future. I mean, as ever, all her products, of course, is a complete disaster. She's got no Netflix series. She hasn't got any project at all. And they are literally wallowing in a maze where to go. And so predictably. And so that is the problem. And for them to come back in the midst of the current royal crisis.
In Bauer's opinion, the days when a close royal connection could easily reinforce their public image or commercial profile were no longer the same.
King Charles and Queen Camilla hosted Prince Harry and Meghan Markle and the couple's 2 children this afternoon. The reunion took place at Highgrove House, the monarch's private country residence in Gloucestershire, England. No images are expected to be released from the reunion, and no further details will be provided, as it was a private family meeting. Wow. So this is interesting because it's like, clearly, was that part of the deal where the king's like, okay, we're going to let it out know that you were here, but we're going to make it clear it was private. There are no images and no more is to come from it. And therefore, if anything else comes from it, they'll be able to point it to Harry, is how this
According
sort of feels
to Tom
like.
Bauer, the meeting served 2 important purposes. First, he believes it made one thing unmistakably clear. Harry and Meghan were not returning as working members of the royal family. Second, Bauer argues it was carefully managed to protect King Charles from future criticism. With questions already surrounding Harry's accommodation and ongoing security disputes, there was a risk that the situation could later be presented as the king refusing to welcome his son or grandchildren back to the UK.
That Harry would be able to say, my dad's left me out in the cold. Here's my dad not protecting me with security again. I guess my dad doesn't want to see his grandchildren. Because that is what I was concerned about. And I think I even said to you, could this all be a scheme, a setup to blackmail the king into showing up at Birmingham next year, which you've said yourself was the ultimate goal for Prince Harry, to have that
In
royal
Bauer's
presence.
view, by agreeing to the meeting but under carefully controlled conditions, Charles showed he was willing to meet Harry, while also setting clear limits on what that meeting actually meant.
The only thing that was interesting that I kind of did guess that the meeting, I did have a feeling if it took place, it would be at Highgrove, only because of how, I'm sure you've been to Highgrove, Matt, but it's in a very secluded, very private location. So it just made sense.
Well, I think it did make sense, and it was a coup for Prince Harry to get that face-to-face meeting with his father, with Meghan back on royal property, and a face-to-face between the king and his grandchildren. Quite the moment.
According
for
to
the
Tom
family.
Bauer, King Charles understood how that situation could be interpreted and wanted to prevent that narrative from taking hold. In Bauer's view, by allowing Harry to visit Highgrove and maintaining private family contact, the king showed he was not shutting the door on his son entirely. Instead, he believes Charles was sending a different message.
William and Kate and the King and Queen rebuild trust and respect. And the quicker the Sussexes leave Britain, the better. The question is only whether they go quietly and stay quiet, or whether they scream to earn a bit more money at the royal family's expense. That is the untold question.
That the real obstacle was not a lack of willingness to see Harry, but the breakdown of trust after years of public disagreements, along with the consequences of decisions Harry and Meghan had already made. As Bauer sees it, the meeting balanced compassion with clear boundaries, making it possible to separate a private family relationship from any suggestion of a return to royal duties.
Camilla didn't like it, and Harry didn't like it, so that's much more important than the king liking his wife. But anyway, she was there, and she was there just to make sure everything was calm.
Yes.
Because Harry could have gone shouting, and Camilla wouldn't be able to say what she would want to say. She probably didn't give them a jam or honey, as a present and to help her thing going, because there were no pictures. So really, I was quite shocked the king saw them, because I felt he can't actually be so close. But actually thinking about it and looking things up, it was
According to
quite
Tom
clever.
Bauer, another reason the Highgrove meeting remained so tightly controlled was Queen Camilla's presence. In his view, her attendance was far from routine. Bauer argues that, having witnessed many of the events that strained Harry's relationship with the royal family over the years, Camilla understood the importance of keeping the conversation clear and accountable.
Well, no, I know where you're coming from, because obviously, as I say, it re-establishes their royal credentials, albeit they are no longer working royals. The fact is they can pop in and have tea. I hope they had Highgrove jam, which is far better than the Meghan slop that she calls spread. I got to say, what real produce tastes like from the Highgrove shop. But the point is, I think it is not quite the PR success that they wanted, because they've been told it's private, and private it shall
Her presence,
remain.
he suggests, meant there was another trusted person in the room who could verify what was actually said and help prevent any later disputes over how the meeting had unfolded. She was the witness, you could say. It shows that King Charles has stopped trusting Harry completely, which I think is a wise decision.
But the truth of the matter is, it was probably an hour. If they leak anything at all, right, that's it forever, and they know that. If it is just what it is, how much does that benefit the Sussex brand? Not much. I asked you why she was furious, because I think she'll be furious about that. I think she'll be furious about the 20 million. I think she might well be furious because she sussed out that none of us want
When
her
the
in
meeting
our bloody
ended,
country.
Meghan Markle reportedly appeared to be hoping it would signal a turning point. But according to Tom Bower's account, that moment never came. There was no official photograph, no public show of reconciliation, and no image that suggested the relationship had been fully repaired.
But of course, they're not apologizing. They have no contrition for the terrible things they've done over the last 5 years. So I never understood exactly how they thought it would play out, except that Harry was blackmailing his father.
Yes.
Do you want to see your grandchildren or not?
In Bower's view, that was intentional. He argues the palace carefully avoided creating any photo opportunity that could later be interpreted as proof that Harry and Meghan had regained their former royal standing. Instead, the silence after the meeting spoke just as loudly as the meeting itself.
Basically, they stated that His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales, Prince William, and Catherine, the Princess of Wales, had no idea about His Majesty the King finally re-meeting up with the Sussexes and their two mysterious children that he's never really met, right? That's the story. The true story is that's absolute rubbish, right? I can just tell you that 100% for a fact. William and Catherine are in all discussions with the King. They are very close. Yes, they have their arguments. There's no, I mean, it's a family, it's a business, it's, you know, that's the gig. But, you know, there is no way the King would have pounced that particular story on them.
According to Tom Bower, the meeting produced none of the outcomes Harry and Meghan may have hoped for. He says there was no apology, no restoration of their previous role, and no indication that their royal status would be reconsidered. In Bower's view, King Charles was not prepared to overlook years of public criticism and family tensions by restoring the privileges they once held. Instead, the meeting reinforced the message that maintaining a personal relationship and returning to royal duties were two very different things. Basically,
Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet. I'm really surprised that those two want the kids to have titles bestowed upon them by a racist organisation that they loathe. I didn't really understand that.
Yes, she wants to have that because this is what she's created from her body or from her life. She's got two children who are royals. She doesn't like it, but she likes it for the kids. And I think it's awful for them because I think children would be attacked and bullied when they've got a very long thing like what they've got, you know. And I think that she just thinks that she's achieved something marvellous. But she doesn't actually think that things are very clever.
after the Highgrove meeting failed to produce the outcome they were reportedly hoping for, attention soon shifted in a different direction. According to critics of Harry and Meghan, the focus increasingly turned to their children. They argue that emphasizing the family connection could create a stronger emotional link with King Charles and perhaps encourage a more sympathetic response in the future. Tom Bower points to this as another sign that the strategy had changed. Instead of seeking a return through official royal duties, the emphasis in his view had shifted toward rebuilding personal ties. Whether that approach will succeed remains uncertain.
The king, not being in his best of health and all the rest of that, and being a man who on the whole probably wants to see his grandchildren, wavered. I think that now, that ship has passed. I think that the Sussexes' dream of somehow finding a role here, half in, half out, I think that is now passed.
But Bower believes the Highgrove meeting made one thing clear. The palace is determined to separate private family relationships from any suggestion of a return to working royal life.
The one thing that makes her interesting is that she married a royal. So trying to run away from that is just a terrible brand strategy. It's an awful thing too on a human level, on a family level, but I don't think for 1 minute she wanted to meet the king so that she could fix this family. I think it was a business decision, a business idea. And so she desperately wanted a photograph. We know the world we live in. We know the world of social media. We want to see a picture of the king, of Meghan, of the children, of Harry, of everybody smiling. The palace said absolutely not. This is not a state visit. This is not even an official visit. This is a family visit. And so there's no photographs. And so because of that, I think that's the clearest example I have of why this didn't exactly work out the way she wanted it to. She wanted the king's embrace.
But Bauer believes the Highgrove meeting made one thing clear. The palace is determined to separate private family relationships from any suggestion of a return to working royal life.
The firm, the royal family, the management of the royal family, and Harry and Meghan in regard to Harry's accommodation with this extraordinary row over Buckingham Palace and whether or not rooms were offered.
Yeah, well, the first thing, Mark, is I'm sure you're aware with Buckingham Palace, there's always rooms. There's always accommodation. We were never, ever put in the impression, when I worked there, that if somebody wanted a room, especially a member of the family, we're the ones that were given the moment's notice, So I find this very hard to believe. I think quite simply, the way Harry dealt with it, I think the palace thought, do you know what? We're going to take back control of the situation and, give a very polite response and just say that, with the time frame and everything, it's not possible to fulfill his request.
According to Tom Bauer, King Charles also understood the broader implications of any public display of reconciliation. In Bauer's view, a warm, highly visible welcome could have created confusion about Harry and Meghan's future role and even complicated the clear line of succession leading to Prince William. That's why he argues the meeting was kept private, carefully managed, and intentionally limited. The message was clear. Maintaining a family relationship was one thing, but creating the impression of a return to working royal life was another, and the palace was determined not to blur that line.
The palace was very smart on this one. They said, come and meet him. He's an old man. He wants to meet the grandkids. He's a father here. He's not a king. He's a grandfather here. He's not a king. And because of all that, because of all the above, there will be no official photographer there. There'll be no photographs leaked. And so I think here that she didn't exactly get what she wants, and she certainly didn't win. A lot of us were frightened that Meghan would be able to manipulate the king, but I think in this instant, nothing has changed. They met for an hour and a half, they had tea, they talked about stuff that had no big relevance, small talk. There's no one better than the royal family for making chit-chat. If ever you've been around the royals, they say nothing. It's like cotton candy. They just talk.
Bauer argues that Harry and Meghan left with far less than they had hoped for. According to his accident, he believes the palace deliberately drew a clear line between maintaining a private family relationship and reopening the door to working royal life. And if his assessment is correct, the Highgrove meeting didn't mark the beginning of a royal comeback. It confirmed just how firmly that the outcome was limited to a private family meeting, nothing more. There was no new security arrangement, no stay at Buckingham Palace, no public appearance alongside King Charles, and no indication that their former royal role would be restored. In Bauer's view, that wasn't in chapter remains closed. When the meeting ended after just 47 minutes, it reportedly concluded without any major breakthrough.
Well, Meghan is furious because she hasn't done everything she wanted. When they knew they were going to come to the UK and London, she sent a list of what she wanted done for her at Buckingham Palace. Can you believe that? But they didn't go to a palace. They went to a home, and she didn't get what she wanted.
According to Tom Bauer's account, there was no agreement on Harry's future in the United Kingdom and no resolution to his ongoing security concerns. After the visit, Meghan reportedly left Highgrove with the children and returned to Montecito, while Harry stayed behind to continue his commitments related to the Invictus Games. For Bauer, that outcome spoke for itself. Despite all the anticipation surrounding the meeting, the key issues remained unresolved, and the palace gave no public sign that its position had changed. In the end, this is how Tom Bauer says the 47-minute Highgrove meeting unfolded. In his view, What was expected to be a step toward rebuilding ties ultimately became a clear demonstration that the palace had drawn firm boundaries. Whether you agree with Bauer's assessment or see the situation differently, the meeting has certainly sparked plenty of debate about the future of Harry, Meghan, and their relationship with the royal family. Now it's your turn. Do you think the palace handled the situation the right way, or should things have been done differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update.